Hello, this is Jason P. Wilson Zero in X-Force, and this is my Marvel comic poll list for the week of July 13th, 2011, and today is the 15th, and it is Friday. And first step here is Captain America #1. Now, this is not to be confused with the ongoing Captain America that will soon be turning into Captain America and Bucky, but still keeping its numbering. No, this is a completely new series altogether. It's done by Ed Brubaker and Steve McNiven. I hope I said those right. And this is Steve Rogers back as Captain America. Now, obviously, those of you who have been reading Captain America or Fear Itself, the death of Bucky has really not been handled. The aftermath of it has not been handled, I don't think, very well. They've, showed him on a slab and had a few comments here and there, but it hasn't been handled the same way that Ultimate Spider-Man: The Death of Peter Parker has been handled. Not with those of you who are fans of Bucky want to see a kind of like a remembrance of Bucky, and for those of you who think that you might get that in Captain America #1, Steve Rogers taking back the Stars and Stripes, well, you might be disappointed because it's kind of confusing. It starts off with Steve Rogers at a funeral, and obviously the first thing you think of is, oh, this is Bucky's funeral. But it's not. It ends up being the funeral of, I think, the aunt of a friend of his. So it's a little confusing. But if you were just to take this on its own, it's a very good Captain America comic. The artwork is really good. The storytelling, even though it's superhero-y, it's written well and it's paced well. And after reading this, I was really happy to have Steve back in the costume as Captain America, and I'm really looking forward to issue #2. So as a standalone Captain American comic, this is quite good, and I definitely recommend this to anyone who wants to start reading Captain America. For those of you who want the, hey, what happened to Bucky, I'm thinking we're going to get that in Captain America and Bucky, which I believe comes out here soon, next few weeks. Now, of what I know, that's the storytelling of past adventures of Captain America and Bucky, like during World War II, that kind of thing. And I will be excited to read those stories, and I will be picking that up to see where that goes. But I'm hoping before we get the flashback that somehow they handle in a caring way the death of Bucky. I can't guarantee they're going to do that. I'm just hoping they are, because it's definitely not being handled here in Captain America. I think they're trying to just do their own thing. But it's a very good comic, and I definitely recommend it. Now, next up is the way I wanted Bucky's death to be handled, and that is Ultimate Fallout Spider-Man No More issue #1. Now, a lot of people are saying, I wish this was a double issue. Well, sure, but this is not just a single issue. It's going to be at least 2, possibly more. I'm not sure how many issues this is going to be. But first off, it's done by the masters, Bendis and Bagley. I mean, wow. I mean, enough said there. But for those of you who felt like you really liked the Ultimate Spider-Man, Death of Spider-Man story arc, and even though you liked how it ended, you really wanted more, well, Bendis knew that, and he's been playing this all along, and this Ultimate Fallout Spider-Man No More is exactly what us Ultimate Spider-Man fans want his death aftermath to be handled. You really get to see these characters that you've grown to love, and their relationships together that you've really come to enjoy. You get to see those people come together and mourn Peter Parker, the man, and it's very touching, and it's well written, obviously, and the artwork is beautiful, obviously. But there are some real moments, moments that touch your heart, kind of pull your heartstrings, not in a corny way, but in a genuine way. You can tell the writer, obviously, Bendis really cares for Peter Parker, and this is the ultimate universe, people. This is the true death of Peter Parker. Unlike the Marvel universe, where people die like Human Torch and everyone just waits for him to come back to life, that's not the way it's handled in Ultimate. If a character dies, the character stays dead. That was the whole point when they started Ultimates, that the artists can do whatever they want, but whatever they do is final. So even though I'm thinking the new Spider-Man's possibly going to be Peter Parker's clone, which is as close as cheating as you can get, but obviously we had the whole story arc with the clone Spider-Man well established, so that would work if that ends up being the case. I'm not sure, of course, I'm just guessing, but with his uniform being a reverse uniform with the black and red, it's a good chance it is. But Peter Parker's funeral is handled extremely well, and that one of the moments, like I mentioned before, was when this girl starts talking to Aunt May and starts talking to her in the way that children do, very innocently, but bringing some points out that most people, adults, have been overlooking. And she has this like burn on her face, and she's talking to Aunt May, and she mentions that, yes, Spider-Man saved me, and if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't be alive. And that came at a moment where it felt very genuine, and the reaction to everyone, including Tony Stark, was a very genuine reaction. These are moments that all of us have had before, so it was really nice to see it written in a real way and handled in a very caring way. So this is one of my favorite comics of the month. And if you've been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, this is an absolute must-get. And if you haven't been reading Ultimate Spider-Man, you're going to wait for the trades of the Death of Spider-Man, well, go ahead and pick this up along with the other issues that come out of Ultimate Fallout, and put them aside. And when you're done reading Ultimate Spider-Man and you're ready for this, pick it up and enjoy. Fantastic comic book, a 5-star all the way. And next up is another great Spider-Man comic. Now, I mentioned this before, I dropped Amazing Spider-Man, and I wasn't really sure if I was going to be reading Spider Island, but I keep on picking up anyway. Every month it comes out, or a couple times a month, I'll see it on the rack, and I'll just pick it up. I haven't missed an issue since I dropped it from my saver. And when I read issues like this, I'm really glad that I stick with it. For all the comics that I didn't really enjoy, and it being a $3.99 comic, and me thinking, do I really want to keep on reading this even though I love Spider-Man? I read a comic like this. This is a single issue, single shot issue, and first of all, I really like the cover, and I'm a big fan of covers. I love walking into a comic store. I love seeing a comic cover. I love then taking it home and opening it up and anticipating what the story is going to be about and what the artwork's going to be about. And I just really like that. I love covers that kind of just draw you to them. And this is one of those. It's very unique. It's very different. So I picked it up, brought it home, opened it up, and just enjoyed the hell out of it. For those of you who love Spider-Man or even like Spider-Man but have not wanted to pick up Amazing Spider-Man because of you haven't been reading it and you didn't know where the story was, this is a single shot issue. If you like Spider-Man, you pick it up, you read it, you just enjoy it. One of my favorite issues of the month, and one of my favorite issues of Spider-Man in a very long time. Loved it. This reminds me of why I'm a Spider-Man fan. And next up is FF. Now, First off, I really like FF. Okay, I love the sci-fi-ish type storytelling. Up to this point, artwork has been good. And after the whole death of Johnny Storm, you know, FF needed to change, and it did. It's done everything right in my book. And then this issue comes out. Now, I haven't finished it, so I'm not going to say that it's bad. But I will say the artwork is bad. The artwork is just bad. It's just not good. I love Hickman, and I'm sure the story, whatever it's so far, is interesting. Okay, whole Black Bolt coming back. But man, look at that costume. Just look at that costume on the cover. That's dumb. That's not good. And the artwork inside is just not good. And for a comic that you're used to it being good, I love Hickman, so I'm not, Hickman's good. He's a good writer. I'm just talking about the artwork. It's just not good. If you read FF, obviously you're going to pick this up. But if you haven't read FF yet, this is not the one to start with. Alright, and from bad artwork to good artwork, here is amazing, Incredible Hulk number 635. Now, obviously, this is the last story arc of Incredible Hulks, and after this, I mentioned this before, Greg Pak is leaving the book, and they're ending the series. One of my favorite series is ending. It's happening a lot lately. This is the third in a 6-part story arc, and this is really Greg Pak at his best. It's just really well written. I will be doing a review on all the full 6-part story arc, but yeah, continuing to be a great comic. Definitely recommend it to everyone. Now my ongoings are over for Marvel, but my limited runs, there are 2 this week. And first up here is Death of Spiderman, chuckle, Avengers versus New Ultimates. Now, chuckle because, look, I first picked this up because I thought it had to do with Death of Spider-Man, and I wanted to pick up every tie-in. Even though there was a little bit of that, and it was interesting to read this point of view of what happened on the bridge with Spider-Man getting shot. Other than that, it really has nothing to do with Death of Spider-Man at all, and you might feel a bit cheated, and you should, but luckily it's a really good series. It really got me hooked on the whole Ultimates thing, and because I was tricked into reading this, I will be picking up the Ultimates. Of course, those of you who know, they're relaunching the Ultimate Comics with Ultimate Spider-Man, Ultimate X-Men, which is a continuation of Ultimate X, and Hawkeye by Hickman, as well as the Ultimates by Hickman. So yeah, I really enjoyed this series. It was quite good, and I will definitely be picking up Ultimates because of it. So I guess it worked. Don't like being tricked, but it worked this time. Alright, and finally, for my Marvels, is X-Men Schism, number 1 of 5. Now, I kind of been avoiding the whole events thing. I was going to pick them up on trades, but this was one that's tied into a current series I'm reading, which is Generation Hope, and so I thought to myself, you know what? I haven't been picking up the other events, and it made me wish that I did. I'll go ahead and pick this one up from the beginning. So I jumped on, and after reading the first issue, I'm glad. Now, after reading the first issue, I realized there wasn't really any point in reading the X-Men Schism Prelude at all, pretty much. So for those of you who have not read that, be glad you didn't. There really was no point. But issue number 1 really establishes what's going to happen, and they do it in a really good way. It's paced well, the artwork's really good. So yeah, this is definitely a pickup. And for $5, it's bigger than your average comic, so that's good. So with that said, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.